Well, hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and the continuum of this electric forge I'm building. I'm going to go through the wiring in a lot more detail now and show you how I've done this. So I've got it here. I'm sort of 3/4 of the way through this build and hopefully this is the final episode, but I want to go through this diagram in great detail because from this point on this is all going to be closed up and I'll only be working on the bricks and the housing on the top section, making the door and tidying things up and doing the final connection. So I have to go through this now so I can get on with the rest of the build. So with that, I first need to say I am not an electrician. If you follow what I do, it's at your own risk. I'm only showing you what I've done and how I did it, and that it works for me, because I did test this very briefly and it does work, but that's where I'm at with it. The problem I found with some of the wiring, either the diagrams or even just showing you what they did, you can't see it in enough detail and exactly which wire goes to what. It is a very difficult thing to film and show you in great detail, but I'm going to attempt to do it. I did run into a few problems, but I'll go over those as I get to it. So let's zoom in on a bit more detail. I think it's best to start with power coming in. You can just see the power point here. This will all get tidied up, but you can see the live and neutral. That's the neutral, that's the live, that's the earth wire. Obviously I can't earth it at the moment, that's going to be on the frame of this later on. But I'll just go back up and now you'll be able to see where that feed wire goes. So these wires are the ones coming in from that power point. This one on the inside, or this one here that I'm pointing at, that's the neutral wire going in. And you can see that that one comes along and is connected to this here. What these are circuit breakers. I've got two at 20 amp and one at 3 amp because the 3 amp just protects the PID. But with the 20 amp circuit, this neutral wire comes in and connects to this point here. This is the first one and that is the line in, okay, and you'll see that on the PDF, but that's the line in. Now this next one, which is the live wire, comes in and connects to the second 20 amp circuit breaker and connects to this one here. Now moving on to this 3 amp circuit breaker, you've got the line goes across, and now we need to start following this. So this wire comes along here and connects to the bottom of the PID. Now I call it the bottom here. You can see that, I'm not sure, but this is number 1. Okay. The second one is the wire that feeds to this jumper block. To be honest, doesn't really matter where it goes, but in this one I've got it going to the middle block of block number 1. As long as these are all connected, you can see here that this is a jumper block. These are underneath this white cover. Okay, now the next wire is this wire, so it's this one here. Comes along here, around, along, and then into this top of this first switch. I call this the first switch, the main switch, right? Now moving on, we got this one. So this is the first circuit breaker, goes to this one here. So it's that coming along onto that top nearest terminal point. On each one of these, this is the line, 1, 2, 3 on this side of these circuit breakers, and this side is the load. So you get the line in, which is the power coming in, and you get load on the other side. Now we have the PID here. So you can see here that some of these PIDs, and this was initially part of the trouble, but some of these PID controllers have 1 to 5 and 6 to 10. I don't know why, but this one has got 1 to 6, 7 to 12. You can see here that these are the 100 to 240 AC terminals, 1 and 2, and 3 and 4 are to do with the SSR, which it says on the side of here. So you can see here that I've only used terminal 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then 11 and 12 on the other side, which is the thermocouple. We've already shown you this one because this first one goes to terminal number 1, which is terminal number 2. You can see here by the green coding, it goes from number 2 around to this end terminal on the jumper block. The next one up is terminal 3, which is on the minus section of the SSR. That one comes along here and goes up to the second connector on this switch. So once again, number 4 comes around through the limit switch. It's got DSF, a door switch, and it comes along, connects to the positive terminal number 2 on SSR number 2. This is number 1 and that's number 2. Now let's go to the SSRs and work them back in as well. Be careful with these because they're named differently, or they're numbered differently I should say. This one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 to 32 VDC, which is minus and plus, and then this is 24 to 480 VAC, terminal 3 and 4, but it's block number 2, it's just for my own benefit. This one on the other hand was numbered very differently, so I renumbered it and made sure that this perfectly matches this one, so I'm doing the same thing on the 2 same blocks. Because normally you'd buy 2 identical ones and do it that way. I'll follow the first one of these, which goes down here. This wire coming down here, comes along here, down here, across and to the top terminal of what I call the second switch. So that's the second switch right there, and I'll get that in frame a little bit better for you. So that's where that goes, to the top terminal of what I call switch number 2. The other connector, which is on number 1, just is simply a jumper from this one to this one. So it's number 1 to number 1, which is minus to minus. That's just a jumper, it's just what you've got to do to make these work. Now we're on to terminal number 2. Now number 2 is just simply another jumper from plus to plus. So it's this one, just goes over here and jumps onto there, which is this one, here, coming straight over and onto there. So number 2 has also got a second one on, which I showed you briefly before, but it goes through this limit switch on the door and then comes back to that terminal number 4. Okay, but I've shown you that just now when we're looking over here. Whilst we're on this, I'll just show you on here, what we're looking at now is block SSR number 2, terminal number 4. This comes around here and connects to a jumper block number 1 on this terminal here. Alright, now before I go to the other one, I'll do terminal number 3 of SSR block number 1, and you can see that this also connects to the jumper. Comes around here and it's on that, happens to be on the middle terminal of jumper block number 2. So we'll just quickly show you that. That wire, you can see it comes on the inside here, comes around here and connects just to this one here. Connector number 3 and connector number 4 of block 1 and 2. And all that simply is that I've got this coiled up and that goes to the ellemment. So that's why I've got these brass blocks on the end of here. Now all I've got really are the bottom 2 of these 2 of the switch number 1, and they also go to these jumper blocks. So I'll show you on the diagram. You've got this one here, comes along, around and then onto the first terminal of jumper block number 1, and then on the other side, that's that terminal there, comes along here, around, and it happens to be on the first terminal jumper block number 2. So we're looking at this underneath one, under this switch right here, the underneath one of the switch, the first switch. So that terminal is coming to this terminal right here. And then the other one, which is the one underneath here, comes along and straight into that jumper block. So it's that terminal right there on that jumper block number 2. So really, that's the wiring. Here we go. Now this is going to have insulation on it. Alright guys, I have done a little bit more work here since I've done the intro to the video that I'm going to upload, but I've failed to do one very important thing, is properly test this. I tested it before, as you may have seen, does work, but I just wanted to make sure that I can bring this up to a reasonable temperature. Now I did some videoing earlier, but my SD card has just gone and stuffed up. So I'm just going to have to do this with my mobile phone. We've got lift off. Okay, see, now I got this set to 800, but I'm not going to take it up to that temperature. I'm going to take it up to, let's try 400. So okay, so all I've got to do, switch this on now, and that should start heating up. So this is plugged into a 10 amp circuit, so I really don't want to get this moving too fast. I don't know if you can just briefly see, you can see how fast that's building up temperature. So what I'll do is I'll let that build up, and when that gets close to 400 I shall bring you back in and show you how it clicks off by itself, so just to prove that it's all working. Alright, so this is going really fast. There you go. Beautiful. So it switched itself off. So now I can move these bricks. There you go. You see that? So it's back on again because the temperature's dropped, obviously dropped below. 95, 96, 97. There you go. It's below, it's dropping down soon. Here we go, back on again. Alright, that's enough. Well, that's awesome.